Alright, I'm gonna get started on putting the front of this motor back on this 5.0 Oldsmobile I got in this Cutlass. Um, First thing you want to do is, you you want to get you a rag like at the front of your oil pan sticking out like mine is, up underneath, which a lot, most of your GMs are. It's got that, that rubber seal that goes across the bottom of the timing chain cover. Just get you an old rag or some paper towels or something, stick them down in there so that way you don't have a bunch of trash and shit falling down into your motor, as you're cleaning all that old gasket and everything off. You want to make sure that you get all your gasket material scraped off, any rust, grease, or anything like that. Take you some sandpaper after you get it, all your material and shit scraped off, and just go along it, man. Sand the rest of that fucking grime shit off on there. It'd probably be better if I was to clean some of this oil and shit off there first. I just got a rag. I keep a bottle of gas and diesel fuel, a little squirt bottle, and wipe all the oil and shit, everything off of it before you use your sandpaper, man. Like I said, you want to get all your gasket material and stuff like that. See, I've got a little bit left right here. You gotta go over it and, make sure you get all that shit off there so that way you ain't got no leaks. Squirt a little gas on this shop towel. Just wipe all the fucking grease off of it, man. That'll show you where you got any gasket material left over and shit. Okay, what I usually do is I just use my pocket knife. If I can get it in there, scrape all the old gasket and shit off. So you got a little bit there, and just get you some good light, man, so you can see good. Make sure you get all your edges and shit. Make sure you ain't got nothing left on them. I think I pretty much got it all. Now I just want to go over it with some sandpaper. If I can find what I do with it. Get you like some 220 or something like that. Nothing real, hard, but a decent grit sandpaper. And clean it up best you can, especially around the bottom, around this seal. Right in here, this seal connects, and well, you'll see later on in the video, I have to use some silver to seal these edges up with the rubber seal, or if you don't, because it'll leak real bad. So if you don't, it'll leak real bad. So get around your guide pins good. Trying to hold this camera. Sorry about all the camera movement, man. I'm holding it in my hand. I'm not going to sit here and film this whole thing of me cleaning this gasket surface off, so I'm going to go ahead and get this cleaned off and everything, and get that seal knocked down in the cover, and then I'll come back and we'll get to putting it back together. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm getting this cover ready. Put a new seal in it, main seal. Just cleaning up around the edges with some sandpaper, knocking the rust off, you know, so you get a good seal and shit. Just knock it all down smooth, and you're gonna take something, some degreaser or something, wipe it down, any grease or anything. You know, just anywhere where the gasket goes. Don't worry about, you know, sanding the whole plate down and shit. Just your gasket line. Some of this is pitted, man, so you want to take like a little wire brush or something, run across it just to get the rust and shit up out the grooves, man. Sorry about that, my dog just broke its leash trying to get out of a damn squirrel. Anyway, this has got a bunch of fucking trash up in it. Take some of this trash up out of this thing, man. Make sure you, these corners right here, you're going to have to use a sealer on the edge of this rubber seal. So make sure you get, you know, that good. Alright, I'm going to wipe that down, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take a couple of flathead screwdrivers and I'll wedge them in between the block and the oil pan. One on each side, just to try to get enough gap. You got a rubber seal that goes onto the bottom of your cover that goes in between your cover and your pan, and you got to have so much of a gap in order to get that seal to pop in there, or you know, it could be a real bitch sometimes. I can't drop the pan all the way off on the count of I got two oil pan bolts up underneath the motor mount where where it bolts to the motor. So all I can do is just take my bolts out all the way back to the mount and try to wedge a couple of screwdrivers in there just to get enough gap to get that seal to pop in. And I'll go ahead and get these screwdrivers and everything set up, and I'll be back. Alright, I got this gasket material and everything all cleaned up, surface cleaned up, got the fuel pump back on, and I'm getting ready to put the cover on now. Got my front seal put in. One thing I usually do when I go to put these seals on, I don't like to put them on dry. So I got a little bit of old motor oil right here. I'm just going to put a little bit around the seal here, man, just to, you know, to keep it from sliding up on there dry and shit. Plus it'll help it, you know, from damaging the seal. Alright, that'll work. I don't know if I got enough space here to get this bottom seal to pop on or not, so I'm gonna try it, you know. Bam! She's on there. Make sure your gasket's good and lined up, man. Take a screwdriver and kind of push the gasket over and center your hole out, man, if it's not centered all the way. Looks good. Scratch the cover up some, but that's no big deal. I mean, I'm not trying to fix this motor up and make it look good or nothing. I just put some paint on it to keep the cover from rusting back up. I'm hoping by the end of this summer I have that 455 ready to put in here. But in the meantime, I'm using this motor as basically a mock-up to get everything hooked up. So, okay. What I did is I took all my bolts and everything and I put them down in a little bit of diesel fuel, letting them soak and get all the years of grime and dirt and rust and oil, and just let them sit for a little bit and soak, and then I take a wire brush to them or a little wire wheel or something, clean them up. Okay, I got this timing chain cover on. You see some screwdrivers in there. They made 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch gap. And on that rubber seal that you're putting on that goes in between the oil pan and the timing chain cover, it's going to have like a little wing hanging off the edge of it. So what you want to do is you want to take a razor blade or a razor knife or something and just cut that off even. And it's a lot easier to get this cover to go back on, and besides, you're going to be squirting gasket sealer up in here anyway, so you ain't going to have to worry about any kind of leaks or nothing like that. I'm going to go ahead and put this water pump on. I'm going to clean it up a little bit. I don't want to put a bunch, back on there with a bunch of grease and shit on it. I might paint it. I ain't made up my mind yet, but I'm going to clean this up real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, water pump's all cleaned up. Got it mounted on there, bolted down. Just remember when you're doing these motors, these GM motors like old Pontiac, you got this hose here, man. You want to put that hose onto your fuel, like your water pump, and slide it up onto this before you go to put any bolts or anything in it. Because if you don't, then the only other way you can do it is to take your fucking elbow off for your top hose and put it on that way. But that's just more work. So get them back together. Next, I guess I'm gonna bolt that power steering pump and shit back up. First, I'm gonna clean it up, man. Fuck, that's nasty, man. Alright, I'll get that cleaned up and put on. I'll be back.